Hello, welcome back to our season one closer of the PR Style Guide podcast. I'm joined here with my amazing co host, Robin Newton, and we are excited for this episode. It has been a great journey over this first season, and we're just so excited for the amazing guests that we had, but more importantly, getting this platform and community started. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and dive right in. So it is Women's History Month. It is March, and we're excited for just some amazing women who have really paved the way, trailblazed for us. And because this is the PR Style Guide podcast, of course, I know we have to highlight a woman in PR comms who just did it for us, or just who laid some great groundwork. So I'm actually going to throw it over to Robin, and she's going to just give some insight into, again, a woman who has really done some amazing things in this industry.
Thank you, Danielle. And hello, everyone. Welcome back. I am looking forward to sharing information about this woman, Ida B. Wells. She was an activist, a journalist, a feminist, a civil rights advocate. And I'm going to read a little bit from her bio because it's an amazing bio. And she was one of the first to do it. And Wells was born enslaved in Holly Springs, Mississippi in 1862. She was the oldest daughter of James and Liza Wells. Wells attended Rusk College to receive her early education, but was forced to drop out at 16. She lost both of her parents and one of her siblings in a yellow fever outbreak. She convinced a nearby school administrator that she was 18 and landed a job as a teacher to take care of her siblings. In 1882, Wells moved with her sisters to Memphis, Tennessee, to live with her aunt, her brothers, and her brothers found work as carpentry apprentices. And for a time, Wells continued her education at Fisk University in Nashville. While on a train ride from Memphis to Nashville in May of 1884, Wells reached a turning point. She had bought a first class ticket, but the train crew forced her to move to the car for African Americans. Wells refused on principle, being forcibly removed from the train. As she was being removed, she bit one of the crew members. Wells sued the railroad and won a $500 settlement in a circuit case court. The decision was overturned by the Tennessee Supreme Court. Following this incident, Wells began writing about issues of race and politics in the South using the name Lola. I like that name. Wells had a number of her articles published in Black newspapers and periodicals. She later became an owner of two newspapers, the Memphis Free Speech and Highlight and Free Speech. In addition to working as a journalist and publisher, Wells worked as a teacher in segregated public schools in Memphis. She was a vocal critic of the condition of segregated schools in the city and was fired from her job in 1891 because of her criticism. In 1892, Wells turned her attention to anti lynching after a friend and two of his business associates were murdered. Tom Moss, Calvin McDowell, and Will Stewart started a grocery store which drew customers away from a white owned store in the neighborhood. The white store owner and his supporters clashed with Moss, McDowell, and Stewart on multiple occasions. One night, they had to guard their store against an attack and ended up shooting several of the white men. They were arrested, taken to jail. Unfortunately, they did not have a chance to defend themselves. A lynch mob took them from their cells and murdered them. Wells wrote articles decrying the lynching and risked her own life traveling to the South to gather information on their lynchings. One of her editorials published some of the city's whites over the pushed some of the city's whites over the edge. A mob stormed her newspaper office and destroyed all of her equipment. Wells was in New York at the time of the incident, which likely saved her life. She stayed in the North after her life was threatened and wrote an in-depth report on lynching in America for the New York Age. This was a newspaper run by Thomas Fortune, a former slave. Wells was an active fighter for suffrage, particularly for Black women. On January 30th, 1913, Wells founded the Alpha Suffrage Club in Chicago. She also was the founder of the National Association of Colored Women's Club. So I just wanted to share a little bit about her life. She was definitely a trailblazer in this industry, and one of the few women of color during that time who were making moves and writing and risking their lives by putting the type of injustices that were going on in our country on blast. And so we just thought it'd be fitting to share a little bit about her. We just came out of Black History Month.
Right.
Obviously, we are now in Women's History Month, and so we couldn't think of anyone else better to share information about.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Robin. The fact that she convinced her teacher, I think you said she came out of school at 16, but she convinced or somebody that she was 18 to get a job to become a teacher to start taking care of her siblings. Like we talk about just being able to build relationships and persevering in this industry. I mean, she was showing that at that age.
At
So,
that age,
yeah, absolutely.
absolutely. Yeah,
She
we hear about so many others, and during times, Rosa Parks and others, and there were so many people who were standing up for themselves. Her sitting on a railroad. First of all, I'm like, yes, lady, first class seat, okay.
I mean, she owned two newspapers. She founded two clubs, like you said. I mean, and she was making moves, like seriously, which is amazing. Definitely, hats off to her, a true trailblazer. So very fitting, like you said, coming from Black history, and I love how that smeared over into women's history. So she is a domineering figure in both of those areas, which is awesome.
That is. And we've had the opportunity to chat with some domineering figures as well this season.
We have. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So, Danielle, what were some of your favorite moments from the season?
Robin, why would you ask me that question?
There were so many, right?
I know, but no, seriously. I mean, I just love the array of phenomenal women that we had, from Gen Zers to agency owners to journalists, like, people who are working for major radio stations and outlets. Like, we just had the wealth of knowledge and the gems that we received. Like, it was like drinking from a fire hose, as they say. Like,
Yeah.
it was amazing. So I can't say that I necessarily can pick out a favorite moment, or I think you said, but I just want to give my hat off to all the phenomenal women who we had. And like I said, just how we were able to, I mean, we had political people who were in the politics space, women's rights. Like, it was just, wow. It
It
was
really was. It was phenomenal. Speaking of the amazing women who we had on, I'm just gonna list them. I'm gonna go through just so we can give them another shout out. Please, if you have not listened to their episodes, check them out on YouTube, on any podcast platforms that you listen on. You can even see them on our website, which is the prstyleguide.com. We have clips and links to them on our social media platforms as well to their episodes. But they are in order, from episode 1 through 9. Candace Atkins Wilson from WHUR, Lonnie Monroe Cannon from Target, Tiffany Young with the Prince George's Chamber of Commerce, Samantha McCoy, the founder and CEO at Mission Key Communications, Janae Tyson, who is a brand consultant, Lenitra King, she is the publicist, she is a seasoned publicist and director of communications at Indicator PR, Lindsay Francois, she is a media manager and creative director, Shannon Augustus, the Director of Media Relations for League of Women Voters, and Keisha Brewer, CEO of the PR Alliance and founder of ProCon. We had an amazing season, Danielle.
You did. You just reading that lineup, I was like, wow.
Yeah, we kicked it off right. Some of my favorite moments weren't necessarily like any particular thing because all the moments were great, but I did love hearing from each of the women their how they fell in love with PR or communication stories.
Yes.
It
Yes.
even though for some of them it had been many years past,
Right.
you could still see the pure excitement and just joy for the love and work that they do. And I could I could relate as well because we all have our own individual how we fell in love with communications stories. And I just loved hearing that from them in general.
Yes, I would agree. And actually, now that you mentioned that, I have two more of some good moments, or just yeah, just how we outline everything. But absolutely, in hearing their how they fell in love with comms and PR stories, like it was just so refreshing. It was a good reminder. It just this is an industry where if you love it, you love it. So it's like when you just hear other people's stories, it's like yes, this is why I'm here. Like, it just reignites you. So, I'd love for you and let's share our stories of
Okay,
how we fell in love with communications and PR. So, I'm going to let you go first.
okay. Mine actually is very similar, I believe, to Lonnie's because I think it was her who talked about working with the morning announcement team at her school.
Yep.
And so for me, I moved to Virginia from DC when I was know anybody. I had some relatives who lived in the area, but none of them were in my grade or in my classes. So I was just trying to make my way. And I had a teacher who was very influential in not just my PR and communications journey, but also actually in my travel journey because she
Mhm.
was the first person that I traveled internationally with. She took a group of students when I was 16 to England and France.
Oh, wow.
And my mom, she said, "Oh, I want you to have this experience, but we cannot afford for both of us to go. But I'm going to send you with Miss Kirkwood." And Miss Kirkwood also had a morning announcement team that she ran in middle school, in my junior high school. And she said, "Oh, I think you would be a great asset for this group. You should join us." And she said, "You have a very distinct voice." And I do. It's a heavy voice.
Dude, it's a
It's
phenomenal
a
voice.
and I've all thank you. I've always had a heavy voice, even as a child. And my school, my elementary school, they knew when I was reading the Pledge of Allegiance. The whole school knew, "Oh, that's Robin." So
Oh,
I joined the morning announcement team and loved it. We had so much fun. And then got into drama and acting in high school and didn't want to go that route for college for a major, but I thought, okay, I can major in communications. I enjoy that as well. And they are very aligned, the
mhm.
two industries. And so here we are.
I love that. So, yeah, my story, how I fell in love with communications and PR, I have always just been like a leader, communicator. I remember in my neighborhood, it was called, we had a club. I can't really remember what the name of the club was right now, but I remember we would meet in the greenhouse of one of my neighbors. She had her house was on top. They had like a little garden greenhouse underneath. And so me and the neighbor, the kids, we would meet under there. Like we had dues, like we did, like it was a whole little like neighborhood club. And I was the president of the club. So I remember like getting up on there, like speaking and so I just learned very early on just the power of communications, how you can influence, individuals or bring together people for a positive cause. And so, just starting. there, yeah, just even just in going throughout school, just being in these roles where, whether it's a project lead, or I just learned again about just the power and the beauty of communications. And I love writing. I had a blog when I was in college, and maybe even before I got to college, but I had a blog. I started a lifestyle brand where we had like shirts and we did photo shoots, and so I was very much more into social media. I actually remember when social media first came out. I'm kind of dating myself, but remember when social media first came out. But yeah, I just love the power of communications. And I saw how even through social media, how, again, you're not directly speaking to people, but how you can, build community and, just bring together people and have influence. And that's really what communication is, it's influence. And so I just really saw that and love that. Even so, my undergrad degree is in psychology. So really has nothing to do with PR and comms, but psychology is a lot of writing, it's researching, it's the things that we do in PR. And when I was a freshman in college, I ended up getting recruited by this company. I used to, Robin, do you remember Cutco knives? Did you ever get
Oh my goodness.
so so I became a
Yeah.
sales rep in freshman year of college. They were around my campus, and yeah, I became a sales rep for
People
Cutco.
would have the Cutco knife parties
Wait, parties?
where people would sell them, like
Oh,
the
yeah.
sales parties.
Oh, yeah, it was direct sales. You started with family and friends, like, but they would do, I mean, they're really great. We still have them in my house. My parents still have them. People who bought them from me, they say how they still use them, but you could like cut a penny with the knife. Like, they were just very good. So I'm the type of person, if I believe in something good, I'm going to spread the word about it. And so yeah, I became a sales rep at age 18, and I ended up becoming a top sales rep actually, that first summer maybe, but they have this really big conference where you try to sell as much as possible. So anyway, I sold over $10,000 worth of Cutco knives in a 2-week period, and I was one of the top sales reps, top in my office. We had to go to like a regional conference, and from that I became an assistant manager. I then became a branch manager, where I actually moved away for the summer to Harford County, Maryland. It was really good business. Now I look at it as really good business skills,
Hmm.
but I ran my own office for a summer. I had to interview. I had 2 receptionists who were like literally my age, or maybe like, a year. I think one of them was older than me. One of them was a year younger. I recruited my own sales team. And so again, I was pretty much telling them how to successfully, not just sell knives, but really it was, how do you manage a schedule? How do you, talk with people effectively? How do you, it was again, these skills that are transferable. And so, yeah, I became a branch manager. Once I got out of school, I actually became a district manager. So I ran their Southern Maryland office for 2 years after school. Again, had my own team there. And I actually still talk with some of the sales, like, people who were sales reps under me. So anyway, just from seeing that experience with communication is marketing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
I had to run ads. Back then, child, I'm dating myself, but they had, what's it called? The penny saver. It
Yep.
was so we ran ads, like where people would call into the office. But it was a really great experience. And so again, from that, and once I got into grad school, I noticed how my internships would like be in the social media, like comms and marketing,
Hmm.
even though again I have a research and a psychology
It's
background.
all connected though. When we are doing PR and marketing for companies, we always are looking at the data. We are looking at the numbers and trying to decipher what messaging is going to work best. And so
Right.
that's been a part of every single job that I've had in communication. So it all flows, even going back to my first gig in college, I was a copy editor for the school newspaper. And it was actually a paid job. It was a student ran newspaper, but we got paid. So that was a really cool experience. But we still had to look at the data, look at the numbers, and try to decipher what stories were going to resonate with the students. And so those editorial decision making um, components also play into psychology, right?
Right.
They go hand in hand, really.
Yes. So yeah, how I first fell in love was just noticing the power of communication, leading people, influence, and how that has just spilled over into different jobs. And even now what I do, I get to work with, just some great comms and PR spaces. So I love that we got a chance to revisit that for us.
Hmm.
But
Me
yeah,
too. It was very enlightening to hear that from them, and just reminded me, it was nostalgia, and
absolutely.
just reminded me of my early days, and obviously when I fell in love with PR as well.
Yeah. So the second thing that I love that we got to talk fashion here too, PR style guide, so we got to dive into that. So for us as women in this industry, what's our fashion staple? What's our go-to?
Mm,
So I can take that one first if you want.
okay.
So I would say for me, I love a good heel, which I know I've mentioned many times
Yeah,
in our episodes. Again, now that I have two small kids, I'm getting with the tennis shoe game, which I'm grateful for that. But yeah, I love a good heel. And I just love a good blazer too. Now, I used to be a suits girl all the way, especially coming from my sales background. But I just love a good blazer, like blazer jeans and like some heels or sneakers. Like I feel like that's still fashion all the way. You're still making a statement. So I would say that those are some of my fashion go-tos as far as clothing. Definitely a good pop of lip, a good color, just having presenting yourself, your face, having that nice clean and well done. Those are my staples, I would say.
I love that, and I'm not surprised. I knew those were your staples.
Not me.
Mine are fashionable tops and blouses. I love the versatility that they provide. I have so many different tops and blouses, and I mix match them all the time with my skirts and my pants. And it's great because I can also transition them to jeans and leggings. And so it works regardless of whether I'm going to a work luncheon. I can throw on, for example, this is a top, and I can throw it on with a nice skirt, pencil skirt, or a flared skirt, and a heel, or as you know, my second go to is a cute pointy toe flat. You
Yes.
will always have a pointed. Robin will always have a pointed toe flat. If I'm not wearing it, it's in my bag.
Right, right. It's close by.
It is close by, because when I get tired of wearing that heel, I'm
Okay.
going to throw on those flats, and they still get the job done.
Okay.
It is not as sexy, but they still give the illusion of a long leg, and I need that because I'm 5'2".
Girl over here saying.
I still need the illusion of a long leg, but I can actually run in my pointed toe flats, and I cannot run in my heel. And as one of our other guests, it may have been Shannon, so it may have been actually one or two or three of our
Yeah.
interviewees. They said yeah, they got to be able to run, so they've changed out the heel for their tennis shoe. Um,
Right.
but I can wear my cute pointed toe flat to the nice events and still run in it.
A really good point. I have never really thought of the pointed toe flat, but that is absolutely right. It's still cute. Like you said, still gets the job done and you can move much better. So Robin, you about to make me a believer. I'm about to give me
I
some pointed.
have them in every color. I have prints, designs, I have bows on them, you name it. My closet is full of them for every occasion. But yeah, so a nice blouse, different designs, and my pointed toe flats.
And I noticed that about you as well. You always have, and I don't know if I've ever told you this, you always have like phenomenal, just very versatile like blouses. So I would
Thank
definitely
you.
say that about you. That's actually something I'm trying to get more into. So I'm like, yeah, you can really put it with anything. So you're right.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So let's chat about the advice that we heard over the season. I will say that is um, one of my favorite things. It was so many moments throughout the season that I was like, oh man, I've heard this before, but I either never heard it quite like that,
Yep.
or it just resonated with me in that time, in that moment. And I found myself like writing it down, putting it in my journal, but typing it in my phone so I could go
Yep.
back to it. And I love that about all of the women that we interviewed over the season.
Absolutely. Yeah. The advice was giving. Like we got so much good advice. I think I mentioned this before we got in the call, but it was like drinking from a fire hose, but in a great way. Like you said, it's stuff that we may have heard, but I think you said it's based on the season of life we're in, based on like the day. Like it just hit different. But it just all in good ways. So, and I'm really grateful for us to have this space where again we're really sharing knowledge with each other, you know, in the effort to build each other up, like, you know, and to, yeah, I just really love that this space is here. And so, ladies, you may just thank you all so much for all the great advice that you shared with us. It was phenomenal.
Remember the episode with Lenitra. Um, It
Yeah.
was a day. I'd had a day. I was actually doing that episode solo. And you even mentioned to me after I did the episode and you watched it, you said you really enjoyed the advice she gave. I said, I did, girl, because I was having a day. And she said, give yourself grace. I've heard that a thousand
Right,
times, but it was something
girl.
about the way she said it and how I was feeling on that day. And I was like, girl, you're right. I do have to give myself grace.
Yes. I remember that distinctly. I could tell, I was like, Robin felt that one.
I did. I did. So, yes, thank you, ladies. You all have blessed us this season more than you know, not just in our professional lives, but also in our personal lives.
Absolutely. So, Robin, what would you say if you had to think about some of the best advice you've been given? What would you say to that?
It doesn't cost you anything to be nice to people. And similarly to that, nice goes a long way. And so that is one of the things that I have learned over the years. It was told to me by family and it has stuck. It's resonated not just in my personal but also in my professional life. And when you are in the communications industry, in particular, if you are someone who is in a PR role, and you are constantly reaching out to folks. I've been doing PR now for uh, I'm dating myself, almost 20 years now. And so started off my career after graduating from Elon. Well, even before I graduated, as I mentioned, I worked at a newspaper. The Pendulum was the school newspaper, but I also interned for BET. And then after college, I got my first job working as a marketing clerk for King's Dominion at
Oh, wow.
the corporate office down near Richmond
Mhm.
and Richmond, Virginia. And that was such a cool job to have as a young woman. I was
I
what
can imagine.
22. I worked in the corporate office behind the amusement park. I've never been a big fan of roller coasters, but I am certainly a big fan of funnel cake. And so when you can walk over to the park as a 22-year-old and get funnel cake and
Right.
cotton candy and candy apples and slushy lemonades and whatever else.
Girl, you were living
Um,
the life. Okay.
that I was living the dream, girl. Okay. And so I worked there for a couple of months, actually, right after I graduated, doing group sales. I was in the group sales marketing department before I came to DC and got a job with WTOP, and I did marketing and then PR for WTOP for a number of years. Actually, I was with them for about 8 years. Before coming over to my current job. And so I have been reaching out to people for years now, and some of my best relationships with people in the industry have to do with just old fashioned bonding,
Mhm.
niceness, connecting with them, and not just when it has to do with an ask, not just when it has to do with work, but really like getting to know them. There are reporters that I send notes to on a regular basis, and I'm just, it's just, hey, just saying hi.
Mhm.
Those are the type of things that I think help you along in this business, because then when you do reach out for the ask, it's
Right.
not, oh, you're just reaching out when you need something.
Yes, love that. It's so funny. Ours are kind of in alignment, but yeah, I feel like some of the best advice is just being a person of integrity and character. And, that is, what we do when no one's around, us, yeah, just that has always resonated with me. And whether it's in, again, how you treat others, is in your your relationships, just what you say yes to, what you say no to, but just being a solid person and knowing who you are, and that's going to help you to show up in an authentic way, but also, and it goes kind of back to that giving grace as well. Even though you may not be the same as someone, if you are, we still always want to treat people well. So just being a person of character, integrity, not burning bridges, building those relationships that last. I would say that's some of the best advice that I've been given, just overall, not even just, industry related, but just overall. But that has definitely carried
I agree.
throughout the different areas of my life.
I totally agree that, yeah, and ours definitely aligned there. I'm not surprised at that either.
Right, right. Which is why we're here together. So,
Yep.
man, all right. Well, again, we've had such a great time over this season. I want to say the lightning round. I really enjoyed the lightning round too.
Me too. Me too. When we were talking about our favorite things and what we should highlight, that was the other one that kept like popping up in my mind because those were so much fun.
They were. They were. So as we go into, we are going to be back for season 2. And listen, if you all have any suggestions about maybe how we should change up our lightning round questions, like, ooh, add this in, please,
Hmm.
yeah, make sure that we're going to still be present on social media. Make sure that you hit us up, and we would just love to know just any suggestions that you have for people who we should interview going into season 2. Again, we've had some phenomenal people, but we're excited to just continue to do more and go higher. And you all are such a huge part of why we do this. So we want to hear from you. And now we want to start to build those relationships with you as well. So reach out to us on social. Let us know any suggestions that you have, any new lightning round questions that we should consider as we go into season 2.
Thank you for all the recommendations. Several of our guests this season actually came from recommendations from
Yeah.
other guests.
Yep.
And so we still receive recommendations from previous guests on a regular basis. And we are very thankful for that. And we are going to be reaching out to some of them where we have a planning session coming up because we loved season 1 and we want season 2 to be even better. And so we are going to be planning for that over the next couple of months. And we look forward to being right back here with you later this year.
Absolutely. All right. So that is it for this season 1. Yay! We did it. All right. So we will catch you all back here for season 2. We can't wait.
Thank you.
Thank you.